Well, hello everyone, and welcome back once again to Building a Podcast. I'm your host, Maticus Bricks. Joining me as usual, Ethan the Brick Chef. And today we have a very special guest. He is staying up extra late to join us at a time which is somewhat relevantly convenient for him. It is the one and only, incomparable OpieWan.
Good evening, gents, or good afternoon.
Thank you for
Hello.
joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So, of course, we have a very exciting show for you today. As per usual, we will get started with our LIGO news, which is going to be a little bit light this week, but expect some pretty heavy news in the future. We are going to be skipping our element of the week, which we would normally do, because we have a lot to talk about, right? We have an interview with OpieWan, so we would really like to get to that.
Yes. Yeah. So, let's just go ahead and we will get right into the news. So,
Making him the center of attention.
as Maticus mentioned, we're just going to keep news light. A lot of sets just got revealed, but we're going to wait a little bit longer, get a little bit closer to January 1st, and we are going to dedicate a whole episode to covering everything that's going to come out January 1st. So don't worry, we will definitely cover everything else. But for right now, we just wanted to do some stuff that's a little bit more relevant to our guests today. So starting off, we have 3 new Brickheads packs that are pertaining to the Lord of the Rings, which I think is a very big franchise that a lot of people have been waiting to see make a return in LEGO, and it finally has. And personally, some of my favorite kinds of sets, which are the Brickheads. So the first pack you have there is Frodo and Gollum. I think that one will be presumably $15, as it does contain the normal $10 brickhead and then the half-size brickhead, which is typically $5. What are your guys' thoughts on these, especially the first one there?
Well, I'll let our special guest go first.
Thank you very much, Marcus. I really like these. I love Lord of the Rings. I think, without going too much into it, I think it's the greatest trilogy of all time, and that's coming from somebody who's loves Star Wars. But I've also, probably over the last 12 months or so, come to really appreciate and love brickheads as well. And I'm kind of a little bit disappointed in myself that I've let some good brickheads get past me in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these will be great. The Gollum one, I suppose, lacks a little bit of expression and just kind of, he looks a bit clean as well for that.
Yes. Yeah.
They could have printed the torso with some kind of like ratty. Yeah.
Yes.
It's almost like it's a limiting factor, like you said, of the brickheads, where they have to have that classic, just the eyes, like, and well, you can't really have him with his menacing expression because it wouldn't really look like a brickhead, would it?
Yeah, no. He definitely he's got his printed element on his side there. I guess his little bit of hair that he does have is printed on the side. But yeah, maybe something could have been done on the chest pieces. Frodo looks really great. I love the brick that they have there, the printing on it. It looks really great.
The little leaf pendant from Lothlorien, really good there.
Yeah.
I have 2 gripes with the Frodo brickhead. Go
for it. Tell us.
Well, number one is that sword. That they have a mold for Sting. That sword looks nothing like Sting. That's bothersome. Very inaccurate. And then of course he has this like 5 head going on, which, for those of you who are listening and not watching, something's off about the hair. It looks like Frodo's got like this slick back gangster style, and it should be more like messy in his face. They could have either done like some printing on that tile or just had something, some sort of element of that reddish brown brick coming down to represent the hair kind of in his face. So it's a little off for me.
Yeah, I think nonetheless they will be very popular.
Oh, absolutely.
And then moving on, our second pack here, this will be a $20 pack as we have 2 normal size brickheads. You have Gandalf and Balrog. I will say I do not like Balrog. I wish that they have for Gollum here, they created this half-size standard for small brickheads. This would have been a really great opportunity, I think, to create a larger standard for brickheads for characters that are obviously not the normal size of a person.
Let's make it bigger.
Yes. Gandalf, I do think looks great.
What do you think, Opie?
I agree. The Balrog just feels a bit lacking. It's like a baby Balrog.
It's almost cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that Balrog is definitely not passing. Like, so a bigger version would have worked for me. Good opportunity to do that. Opportunity missed.
I think it's better the more I look at it. I mean, it's definitely still blocky, but I feel like the more I look at it, the more I get used to it. I love that Gandalf, though.
Yeah, and it's due to point out, I don't think either of these feature prints like Brickheads would normally feature a custom print in every build. These two, I don't think have anything special. Beside, I don't think we've seen the Brickhead's eyes come on that color element before.
Right.
I was looking at the mouth too. Is it an open mouth? Or
it is. It has like those fang pieces, right?
Yeah.
Those.
Yeah, he definitely uses some interesting techniques that I've not seen before in a Brickhead.
It's a very unique one for sure.
Like,
and even more so with those, like, I do appreciate the techniques, but I think they really could have landed as a slightly bigger scale, just to really pull out those details.
Yeah, I am in full agreement with you there. I really wish we could have seen a large format standard for Brickheads. And then our final 2-pack here is the Aragorn and Arwen 2-pack. Maticus, what do you think about them?
They look really nice. You know, and as a Lord of the Rings fan, I can't really remember, is Arwen wearing a sort of lime green dress at some point at the end? To me, I really wish that they had gone with Arwen in her blue dress with more like that printing and the detail, because she's just kind of like a block. And then Aragorn looks fantastic, but I think I would have just preferred him, you know, like that minifigure where he has like the blue, where he's like at the Battle of the Black Gate. I don't know. I guess I just wish that they had chosen a different version of that so that they maybe looked more like what we think of them as.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so what are these outfits based on? Like, because that's not the outfit I would typically associate with Aragorn.
It has to be Return of the King, because he's at the end, because Aragorn is wearing the crown.
Yeah,
it's like the wedding outfits, I think.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Let me have a look.
Yeah, take a look. Because honestly, to me, it just isn't looking as iconic as, you know, what you picture. Do I even have them? I do. Hold on.
Because when I think about him, he's wearing like a blue sort of coat, and he's kind of rough up. He's kind of roughed up.
And this is what I think of for the Arwen minifigure, or for Arwen in her dress. And I just would have liked to have seen something more like this with more detail.
Yeah, I do think the dress is lacking some type of print.
So it is the wedding scene, and she is wearing a green dress there.
Okay, yeah.
So they did do it accurately. I just think it maybe could have been different costumes or different outfits.
Yeah. And I think I do understand probably too why they picked, because as a 2-pack, that really is their duo moment in the franchise. So that does make sense. It would be a little odd to have them have the outfits that we more recognize on them. They're just not associated being together when they're wearing those outfits. So
that's true.
So I definitely. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just gonna say that little minor details with these, but I think nevertheless they're all fantastic, and I'm getting all 3 of them.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I think we were a little rough on them, but yes, I would like to preface. Yes, I will also, as just a collector of Brickheads in general, and I do want to give my spiel on Brickheads and why I like them so much. I just really dislike pops, and I don't like the whole thing of once you take a pop out of its box, it loses its value. But with these, you get the same kind of feel, and you have to take them out of the box, or else you don't get it. You don't get to admire the final product.
They're just so cute. Like, come on! Like, I love these. I really was not going to be a collector of Brickheads until I started to get a couple of the Star Wars ones this year. And let me tell you, I'm so glad that I had the foresight to get this one before it
Oh yeah,
retired.
those
This
are
is so valuable.
that one's expensive.
This is like over $100, I think, for this brickhead.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Classic
No offense
space
to
fans are
pop
nuts.
collectors, but
these are better.
I just don't. I don't like the whole. It loses all value pretty much once it's out of its box.
Aren't pops not sealed as well?
Yeah, basically, like you can open them. So it's like if somebody did a good job, how are you going to tell that it hasn't been taken out of its box?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I have
you
pops that I've just been. Oh, I'm sorry, Opie.
I was just going to say, it's the same like Black Series. Like you literally buy it, bring it home, and put it there. Like at least that for me is why Lego is my franchise, because you bring it home, you build it,
Yep.
you put it on, you can change it, you can critique it, you can customize it.
The enjoyment doesn't end when you purchase it.
Exactly.
You know? It's you have it at home, and now I have to build the thing. Now I get to interact with it. I get to think about whatever it is that I'm building as I build it. I get to have that me time, and I really love that a brickhead is like a small version of that. And then, like I said, you get a cute little thing to look at.
Yeah, they're great. They're great display pieces, little desk toppers.
I think they're good gap fillers as well. So where like sets kind of push apart from each other, they slide in quite nicely. So I think I've got my Ahsoka there between Do and R2. And they just fit nicely at the front without kind of crowding out what's behind them as well.
They really do.
They know what they're doing.
That's a great thing. We never talk about like display. I feel like that's one thing. You talk about it a bit, Opie, but
it's a big part of your content.
Yeah, is like how to display Lego in good ways. And yeah, they are very good. Especially like the Star Wars ones. You can fill a gap with like a brickhead that complements the build that you have next to it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because I mean, like Darth Vader would go with any like Imperial build.
I need to get that one.
There's two
after this
now.
Conversation. I know. Wait, there's two? Oh, there's
the
not currently available.
I think like the 2016 one, and then
the one that's with the Opie.
It might be a little bit.
You're gonna make me go and buy every brickhead available right now, honestly, because
I'm part of a Facebook collector group that basically is a reseller group, and somebody a couple of weeks ago had every Star Wars brickhead, and I think they wanted something like £200 for it, which is nothing really, because I think like things like
that's not bad.
Phasma goes for quite a little bit, Han and Chewie, and I was so tempted, and I don't know why I didn't buy them, and just because that opportunity will probably not come along again.
Yeah, I own all of them except for obviously the San Diego Comic-Con Boba Fett and Han Solo and Carbonite, because that alone goes for like $300-400.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Are they exclusives for the most part? You can only buy them from Lego.
Brickheads for the most part, yes. The Star Wars sometimes, actually not any of them recently, I don't think have been in stores.
The Mandalorian one.
Yeah.
That one I see everywhere.
Ahsoka never hit retail stores, and then Obi-Wan and Vader didn't either.
Yeah, I was just trying to add to my Amazon list, and that is not possible.
And then like all of the Pets ones are store exclusives.
They're fine.
And to continue on the brickheads topic, we have another new reveal set. It is a Star Wars set. It is the Tusken Raider brickheads. I think this guy looks really great.
He almost doesn't look like a brickhead. I mean, in a good way. Like he just looks like a Tusken Raider. Like you know what I mean? Like with all of the detail that they got in there. You're not sacrificing any detail in this format.
And I do want to point out, how does the connection work here? Is that a new piece potentially?
Yep.
Because they just introduced the not the quarter round, but the half round tile. So is that a half round jumper?
I think it has to be.
It has to be, right? Which the uses for that are my mind is already going wild, but that was like one thing that I think not a lot of people have noticed. That
I
has to be
did
a
not
new
notice
element, right?
until you pointed it out. It has to be. I don't know. I see how else they have it connected.
Exactly. So that's really cool to see. What are your thoughts on this one, Liam?
It's a fantastic set. So I love the Tusken Raiders. And yeah, I love Tatooine. I love like this is just me in a brickhead. And I love the detail. It really breaks. Although obviously brickheads are 3-dimensional, they are barely 3-dimensional. When we look at what we've just had, they're very flat. That's a bit to kind of Marcus's comment on Frodo. They kind of lack that extra little bit of depth. But this is very
right.
Very 3-dimensional.
Yeah,
it breaks that mold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his face looks great. I think those are also the print element. There's like a 1x1.
It is. It's not a.
Yeah.
I thought it was a 1x4.
Yeah, you'll because they use it right here as well. So
that's why
you'll probably get an extra one of those. That'll be a great piece to use.
Little detail.
But yeah, no, he looks really, really awesome, and I love this brickhead.
Have they as well given the old rifle, like the old pirate style rifle?
Yes, they don't have an official image of the back, but that I think is the old style rifle.
Nice.
I think it's so cute that they use accessories that are the same size as a minifigure. But
I know,
he's got the gaffy stick that's like could also be held by the minifigure version.
Yeah.
I do feel sometimes minifig accessories are a bit oversized because
it
looks more like in
the
brickhead's hand than it does in like a normal Tusken. Have their gaffy stick be like way taller than them.
Mm-hmm. It's all part of the charm.
What I love about this as well is you could quite easily buy 10 of these and play around with them, because every Tusken's kind of cloaks are slightly different. You could play around and have a bit of a Tusken camp.
Yes, I totally agree.
Really.
If you wanted to, yeah, I really like that. Maybe like the one that's wearing like the black from Boba Fett. Yep. The one that makes the
absolutely
stick. Very cool.
But yeah, no, that's an absolutely great looking brickhead set. Super excited that we are getting all these new, and specifically because we've been getting a lot of brickheads over the past year and a half, but it's not a lot of branded and IP'd brickheads. It's so many pets. I mean, we've gotten the Spice Girls, and then I think some Harry Potter has come out recently, and then Ahsoka and OpieWan and Vader. But back when brickheads, I want to say like through like 2017 through 2019, they were doing all sorts of stuff. You had Back to the Future, The Simpsons, Minecraft, Nightmare Before Christmas, The Little Mermaid, Frozen. So it's nice to see them doing more of that again with the brickheads.
I was really hoping that the Spice Girls would set a precedent for music icons. Like where is our Elvis brickhead? Where is, the Beatles? So on and so forth. We'll see.
The Beatles would be a good one.
Yes,
absolutely.
And they have, I'm assuming, good relations with their estate and their people, because we've gotten the Yellow Submarine before and the art set. So.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of switching gears for our final set that we are going to look at today. It is from a movie franchise. It's just not a brickheads. So after the huge success of the Dom's Dodge Charger, Lego Speed Champions is doing another Fast and Furious car. This one specifically from the second film. And this is the car that Paul Walker drove, the Nissan Skyline GTR. What are our initial thoughts on this one?
So it's an interesting one, because of the size and the price of it, it's like, who is this aimed at? Like something you would say to me, it's aimed at kids, which is cool, because we as adults sometimes forget that Lego is made for kids. but a lot of kids won't even know what Fast and Furious is. Certainly the second one, Paul Walker, like they just, is it a bit of a miss? Or is it essentially just a nice little item? Now, I think you've kind of maybe answered the question there by saying because of the success of the Dom's Charger, if that did well, you would think this would do well. So as a car, I love the Skyline. Like the Skyline growing up was an iconic car for me. So totally get it. Paul Walker, Fast and Furious, but he is my generation. But yeah, it's a nice take on it. It's it's a nice little tribute to Paul as well, long overdue, and it's a nice little price, I suppose. I'm really complaining that it's too small and too cheap, but I shouldn't really complain about that, should I?
So now you're a Fast and Furious fan.
Yes.
Okay. I know literally nothing about the franchise. So to me, this is just another car.
Mm-hmm.
But to relate it to the set that came out earlier this year, the James Bond car, the Aston Martin, I think that set, and I still haven't built it yet, still in my box, I'm procrastinating, but it is incredible that it's a set that could appeal to adults. Like you said, who's the audience? Are any kids really into 007 right now? Probably not. So, but it makes it an affordable little collectible for adults that, like, yeah, you could put that on your shelf and it looks cool. It could be a toy, but it isn't like, it doesn't have to be a toy.
Yeah, and there's also the other thing, when we go back to talking about displays, you've got Dom's Charger and it's like, okay, it's Dom's Charger, but now you have, Dom's Charger and now.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's the issue. Dom's Charger and this Skyline were never in the same movie. So you couldn't technically put them together, but you could put them together.
Right.
But yeah, you can make a nice little Fast and Furious. And you know what? You get a Paul Walker minifig. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, my pull to like the Dodge Charger was, I want a Vin Diesel minifig. And I think
We already have a Rocket Wreck or a Groot.
Oh, he doesn't count.
Ah.
But I think they've really might have found a really good market here where they can do these movie cars in the Speed Champions line. I would like to see. It's obviously been done before. 2 cars have been done before in Lego Ideas that I would like to see them redone in Speed Champions, specifically the Back to the Future DeLorean and the Ecto-1. I think would be really cool to see what the Speed Champions design team could do to redesign those sets in kind of a modern tone, because they would really fit this kind of theme that they're starting for themselves of doing these movie cars. Because you still have the iconicness of the brand car itself with a lot of these cars, and you also have the movie aspect, and then including that minifig of that movie character just adds so much more. I feel like, because the minifig in a Speed Champion set, I feel like normally it's just some throwaway thing. You're buying it for the car build,
There's so much that they could do with it. I mean, this is where they could do the Knight Rider, what we were talking about.
Why don't we have a Knight Rider car?
Why don't we have a Knight Rider set? It's ridiculous.
And then Airwolf. Why don't we have Airwolf as a helicopter?
Yep. The A-Team, they made A-Team minifigs. We have a Mr. T. They could do an A-Team car van.
Yeah.
There's so many. I want a 1980.
What? Those stickers. They are stickers. That's going to be painful to line those up.
Oh, yeah. Speed Champions is normally super sticker heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even on the cheese slope. Oh, no, that's not a cheese slope, but still, even on the small curved slopes.
I'm looking at, so if you look at the wheel arch and then like the quarter panel.
That has to be.
So I think the wheel arch right there has to be printed.
Okay.
It has to be.
It's the quarter panels either side of it though. So they're just the little blue triangle pieces.
Yeah, getting them lined up right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be fun.
But yeah, no, I think if this set does well, because the first 2 I think did really well, the 007 car and the Dodge Charger, I think we might continue to see these movie-based Speed Champion sets, which is really, really cool.
And that'll be endless. I mean, you could go Steve McQueen and Bullet, because you could almost be driven by the car and then be like, okay, like let's do we want to do this car. Who has driven this car?
Exactly.
You know, so
Ryan Gosling in Drive, like with his cool jacket, like that'd be an awesome minifig.
I've never seen Drive,
It's
and I should see it.
Yeah.
Gone in 60 Seconds, just for a Nicolas Cage.
I haven't seen that one.
Shelby GT Mustang.
Love Nick Cage. Let's check it out.
That would be a good conversation topic someday. Of like what cars?
We could just have a whole pod about that. Honestly.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that for today is going to just about wrap up our news portion of everything, which brings us to our main topic, the main presentation. It is, of course, OpieWan.
Well, OpieWan, you are our only hope.
Lord help us all.
So, Matt, if you want to go ahead and kick us off,
I would
just get right into it.
So the way we do things is we like to make our guests the main topic, and we just put you on the spot. You know, you're big man in the chat. Have a little bit of an interview with you. We're going to ask you some questions. Ethan and I are going to go back and forth. First up, this is something that we ask all of our guests here on Building a Podcast. I know personally, I don't have to ask you this question because I think we already know your answer, and anybody who knows you knows your answer. But I still must ask, what is your favorite Lego theme?
So yeah, it's
Friends, right?
It's Star Wars. It's 100% Star Wars for me.
Of course. You were pretty much the Star Wars guy. Like it's in your name. It's in your name.
Oh yeah.
So going off of here, why don't you go ahead and ask Ethan?
Yeah, no. So this is kind of a piggyback question, and I'll just get right into it. What is your favorite Lego set? And I'll preface it. If it is a Star Wars set, go ahead. Tell us what that is. But then I'm also going to ask you what your favorite non-Star Wars Lego set would be.
Ooh, that's good. So it is Star Wars, and it's my UCS Sandcrawler.
Great set.
The Star Destroyer is brilliant. I built it a couple of months ago, and then I thought I'm not going to make that decision yet, as if it's my favorite set. But now I've kind of left it. I'm like, no, it's the Sandcrawler, and I think that just comes back to, I always say this, but I'm more of a Star Wars fan than I am a Lego fan. Like Lego is how I choose to articulate my love of Star Wars. So the Sandcrawler just does that for me. I love the Sandcrawler. I love Tatooine. It just absolutely is Star Wars. So is the Star Destroyer, but yeah, I just love and I love that it's playable as well. Like by today's standard, that's a Master Builder series set, not a UCS set. But I love that. I love that side of it. Non-Star Wars, are we talking about in my collection or just what's out there?
What's out there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tough. I didn't have an answer either way.
Stumped you.
I'm looking around. Would it be? I mean, something like, the Tower of Orthanc is fantastic. Would the Tower of Orthanc be my favorite set? I feel like whatever answer I give in 40 minutes time, I'll be like, no, this one.
It's actually that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's no so what am I talking about? See the Ghostbusters fire station, fire station.
Yeah, no, that I wish I could get that set.
That is number one of my biggest regrets is not getting that set.
Yeah, there is one for sale near me, and it's been for sale for about a year, just sat there for £500, and I'm like, no.
Snatch it up. Do it. Do it.
I know.
Just Palpatine, do it.
One day.
Maybe. So moving on, do you remember like what drew you to Lego? How did you become a Lego fan?
So I had like kind of 3 stages of Lego. As a child, I can't remember not having Lego. And I think it always goes back to that. Like Lego was like, it was the thing I love building on my own. It was always like my treat, you know. It was, you know, like when you get a present or a gift from for no reason, like, oh, I've bought you this. So I always kind of have that association with it. Love building it, love kind of smashing it up and then rebuilding it. I had Pirates and I had Castle as a kid. Like the franchises didn't exist. We didn't have Star Wars and all that because I'm old. And then
I remember those days.
And then kind of as kind of we talking about beforehand, my brother's 22-year-old, so he grew up like a lot of you guys and a lot of people that we interact with on a daily basis, grew up with the prequels, the Clone Wars and all that. So we kind of watched that with him and loved that. And then because I loved Lego, kind of I bought him Lego, and again we built and played with it together. He then kind of grew up, and then I just kind of moved away as he moved away from it. And then come back, you know. I always wanted to have like this, like a Lego man cave, and wanted to wait until I'd bought my house and all of that. And then so we bought this house in 2017, got engaged in 2018. Well, sorry, we got engaged in 2017, married in 2019, had our honeymoon when we came to America, and then we planned like a second honeymoon for May 2020, where we're going to Mauritius. And it got cancelled because of COVID. So we got like a sizable refund that was kind of in my head. This is how I work, was already spent. So I was like, that's like free money. So took that as an opportunity to just kind of start investing and start picking things up. Fortunately, got in kind of before the boom and got some decent pieces, some stuff that I like moved on and wish I hadn't moved on, because some of it would be worth an absolute fortune now, but it is the way. And then just like it's that thing for me. It's, you know, it'll always come back to it's a great way to like articulate my love of Star Wars, but then there's always that childhood nostalgia part of it that, you know, even like I've been to Tesco tonight, so Tesco's one of our shopping supermarkets, and you know, whenever we go in, the first thing I do is turn right and then go right, and then down there is the magazine aisle. So I always look at the Lego magazines, and then straight after it is the toy aisle, and I'll always just go down. And my wife, like to the point where my wife doesn't even question it anymore. She knows where we're going.
I think the women in all of our lives know just when there's Lego, and they know that when there's Lego in the store, like we're going there. Every time we go to Target, it's like, yep, you know, you go ahead and do your Lego thing.
and we love them for it.
And we do. Yes. They really do support us, and what would we do without them?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to kind of narrow back into you growing up with Lego as a child. Is there any like standout moments with Lego that you have from your childhood?
I kind of have probably more like standout memories. So I always remember like having the really cool castle with that base plate that's worth a fortune now. Always loved that. I had a really cool big like, so I had the big pirate ship from the early 90s, probably I would say. Had
the
that.
Ship of Dreams.
That was fantastic. And then I always remember I had like the blue, it wasn't the pirates, but it was like the blue. I always kind of saw them as the French.
The Imperial Guards.
Yes. Yeah. So I had like their big ship, and I just remember like we had a big dining room that didn't have a dining room table. So like it was just an empty room, and that was just my playroom, and just pushing these ships all over and smashing them into each other. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Don't you wish you hadn't smashed them together quite so much? Because they're worth a fortune now. It's like,
yeah. Well, I wish more that my mum hadn't give the bucket of Lego away with all that.
A common story that plagues many.
Mom. It's always the mothers.
Oh yes.
Did you ever have like a dark age? Like specifically, like when were you, I guess, did you grow out of Lego for a little bit and get back into it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as a kid, I was very kind of active, did a lot of things, played football, so soccer to you guys on a weekend. So I would kind of move on from things. Like once I'd stopped, I'd move on. I've always kind of played video games. So just kind of as I put Lego down, I quickly picked something else up, and that would be forgotten about. And it wasn't that I'd kind of made a decision; it just stopped playing with it, and never went back to it. And it's that thing where it went from being in the corner of my bedroom to up in the loft or the attic, and like from there, it's quickly forgotten about. And then I can't remember exactly how old I was. I'd probably say about 10, 11-year-old. And then, yeah, that was probably for about 10 years until ultimately my brother was born, and he was at an age to start playing with Lego. And then I saw him as an opportunity to be like, I can buy all these Star Wars sets that didn't exist when I was a kid.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible. That's a great moment for many of us adult collectors.
Absolutely. He just he liked sitting watching me build it, but he then didn't like it when he then wasn't allowed to play with his own Lego.
Of course. Who likes that moment, right?
Exactly. So this is kind of a different question. We don't normally kind of delve, but we're going to go a little bit away from Lego. Tell us about your relationship with Star Wars. What makes you such a big Star Wars fan?
Well, a little bit like Lego. Like, I can't remember a time when I hadn't seen Star Wars. So it was just like as a child, it's a magical thing, isn't it? It's brilliant. I've always liked fantasy and sci-fi. So yeah, it was always like just something I liked. I can't remember not liking it. And then again, like when I grew up, Star Wars was done. We'd had the original trilogy. There was no talk of anything. And then I was 14 when The Phantom Menace came out. And I remember the hype for it. I remember going to the cinema to see it and absolutely loved it. And then Attack of the Clones was like, I have no idea what's going on here. And it wasn't even like the cinematography of it, because at the time, like that was peak CGI. It's obviously it's come a long way since. But like, I was like, who's Sifo Dyas? Is Christopher Lee Sifo Dyas? Like, is that because in my head he had three names. He was Count Dooku, Sifo Dyas, and Darth Tyrannus. And I'm like, who's who here? I don't really understand what's going on. And then I remember going to see Revenge of the Sith, and yeah, just the dialogue was just so wooden and awful. But I'm at that age where you kind of think you know better, so like you think you know more. So what was that, like 2003? So I would have been, was it 2003?
I think Revenge of the Sith was like either 2004 or 2005.
Yeah, it was
2005. That's right, because this year 2002 was Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
So like 2005, I'm like 20-year-old. So like, yeah, like who can tell a 20-year-old anything? But yeah, it was one of those, and then I kind of learned to love it over the years. But yeah, like really enjoyed it. Just like, but I always loved The Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace has always been my favorite prequel film, probably because I saw it when I was 14, whereas I saw Attack of the Clones when I was 17, where you really can't tell a 17-year-old anything. And it's kind of, it all loops back to that, like kind of my impression back then. But I do enjoy all of the films now. And then, yeah, like we're in the golden age of Star Wars, or we're just kind of kicking it off. But just, I can't kind of specifically say what it is, but I've always loved it. And I love like deep lore. I think that's one of the things I love about Lord of the Rings. I love like how deep you can really go on that. And you just keep, we just keep getting more and more. And I love just kind of locking myself away. And like, right, I need to know more about this. I need to know more about that. And that's one thing that I really love. There is literally an answer for any question you would raise.
I agree. I really love the world building and the lore aspects of Star Wars as well. It's just so much, can make so many connections to so many different things, and it's just really great learning new stuff, watching weird theory videos and stuff like that.
Read a book, go to the bookstore, pick up a book, and there's always something to read about within the Star Wars realm. It's like incredible. You could spend your lifetime and not know it all.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think right now I just think they need to kind of be a little bit more strategic because they have so many forms of media, and essentially everything they release now is canon, which I love. And I love that they kind of saying, you kind of got to go over here if you want to learn more about this part of the story. So War of the Bounty Hunters, for example, they're constantly releasing books, especially in the prequel age. So go and read these books. You've then got Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor coming out, and you're like, they are canon. So if you want to learn more about, I love that. But it's when they start kind of tinkering with those things and they, the poor term retconning like parts of people's stories. And because I think what that does is it takes away the confidence to go that extra mile and read the comics and read the books if they are then retconning stuff. And I know with Tales of the Jedi, there was a slight suspicion that they'd done it with the Ahsoka story, but then we've been told that whilst we haven't been given a clear answer as to why, we've also been told not to worry, it hasn't been retconned. But they did it with the Bad Batch and Kanan Jarrus' story. So yeah, it's just, I hope they kind of get that right, and I hope it's just correcting a few pieces, shuffling a few kind of pawns into place before they really get down the road. But there's so much they can tell.
These are all really great points.
I think about this a lot, Madigus.
Listen, you're the guy. I always see your videos. You're just always coming up with something. It's, I think that once you really love something like that, it's always in your mind. Like for us, we're always thinking about Lego. We're always thinking about, Star Wars, or in my case, Lord of the Rings, or whatever it is that you're interested in. It's always there.
It is. It can be a bit of a hindrance at times because I can lie there, 1 a.m. in the morning thinking like, oh, wow, who was that? Like, what was that?
What was going through Sifo Dyas's head like at this time?
Who is Sifo Dyas? Yeah.
So now, going in a different direction, how did you get started as a content creator?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? So I pandemic again is to blame.
Yep.
My wife was like, "Oh, you've got to download TikTok, and like it's so funny, and you need to watch this app and everything." And I'm like, "Whatever." So watched it, and it's funny, isn't it, how like two different people in the same household can be on the same app and go down very different roads. In some way, it's the beauty of the algorithm, although we curse the algorithm so much. But yeah, I kind of had all the generic stuff and the dancing and some of the trends and, really getting the feel for it. And I suppose I kind of started to get bored of it. And then I bumped into, I always say this, Matt Mellish was probably the first Lego TikToker that I found, but I didn't follow him because all I would ever see was the dance. I was like, I don't really understand what this is, but okay. But then I followed Darth Choco. So like that was it for me, and Connor Fahey, so Jedi Connor as he goes by now. So those two were like, I loved the Star Wars lore, and I kind of almost became like that sort of content creator. But when I heard those guys speak and I didn't have access to the source material that I would have today, I just thought no. And you would see their comment section, and I'm going nowhere near that. And then I think so Cool Guy Dom was like the first Lego creator I followed. And then as I engaged Dom, I then started seeing more of Matt Mellish's content, like his actual content. And I'd be like, okay, so he doesn't just dance to the mat dance and all that. And then I always remember seeing his Acto Island and thinking that's like mega impressive. And then just, you know what it's like, you go down the rabbit hole. And then, I don't know, TikTok has this ability to just give you the confidence and ease to pick up the phone, especially back then, to pick up the phone and kind of see what you've got to see. So I started collecting a bit of Lego, and then I just started, like, without showing my face, just showing what had kind of come in the door that week. And then I started to flip a bit of Lego, so I would use it to promote my eBay. And then I always remember I bought like a mega haul of stuff. So like my Death Star, I got a gunship. I got probably about £1,000 worth of Lego for like £200. But the gunship and like the Z95 Headhunter, they were glued.
Oh,
So
gosh.
I was like, no, like this is. So I ended up giving them away because it was about this time of year. So I gave them away to a family with like 3 boys because I thought, well, you know, they're still very playable. They've got a gunship and they don't have to worry about breaking these things. So I gave them away and I did a little video on that. And people were like, how are you giving them away? So then I did like my face reveal just basically to explain that they're glued, but actually, you know, so they've got no place in my collection, but, you know, I can pass them on to somebody who can actually use them. And then just from there, like that seemed to go all right. And then I always intended to use it to promote like what I was flipping more than anything else. Then I just start keeping stuff and building my collection out more and more and more. And then I suppose I got lucky as well. Like there's a lot of Lego creators out there right now, and a lot of people kind of continue to come on board. And I was just around for that initial wave and that initial age where all of this was brand new on TikTok, and we were able to kind of really sweep people up.
Yeah, that initial wave was awesome. I remember it. I was like towards the end of kind of when like you came in. I think you were around before I was.
Yeah, so I was like October 2020 was like my first Lego TikTok, but yeah, it's crazy how it went. Because I remember when we first met, Atticus, was when I did me and Jack the Lego lad, who everybody thought I was his dad. We did the mock contest. And
that was so fun.
It was, other than the Chewy Bricks drama. But
other than Chewy Bricks in general. I did one of his mock contests. Jeez, don't like to think of that dark time. Those were the dark ages.
Yeah, I wish I knew like anything because I'm very new in terms of I was late 2021, so
I was early.
You've had a big year then, Brick Chef.
You really have.
Yes, I grew very fast. I started in August of 2021, and it blew up very quickly. It was
TikTok your first platform, or had you come across the TikTok from elsewhere?
So I had done Brick Chef. Like I tried to do it prior, and it was initially like just long form YouTube videos, and I did it for like a little bit, and then I just stopped doing it like very fast. I think I was probably like start of the pandemic, like 2020, that I tried it, and then I just stopped doing it. And then I had a roommate move in with us like just a couple months prior to me starting, and he was like, man, you should like he was doing his Google SEO certification, and he was seeing how much money Google was investing into YouTube Shorts at the time. So he was like, man, with all these Legos, like you could do some type of like short form content with all this, and I could like help you out with all of the analytics side of everything. So we initially were only going to do YouTube Shorts, and we realized that like we should, if we're going to make these short videos, might as well like post them on TikTok too. And then TikTok just like didn't expect it, but out of nowhere, like within like 2 or 3 videos, we were like getting 10,000 views and like at 1,000 followers, and you're like, oh, okay, so maybe this is worth like continuing to like use as an endeavor. And now it's where it is,
and it's in a fantastic place. You have such a rhythm and a model going on now. It just,
yeah, that was the like the first thing I equated it to, like, because I watched a lot of long form YouTube, but when I first got into like short form video content, I was watching a lot of cooking stuff, because I do like to cook a lot, and I've had a lot of my job experiences in kitchens and stuff. So that's where the whole Brick Chef thing came from. And the first thing I was like, all those cooking videos have like rhythmic, like it's very rhythmic about everything. we need to have something rhythmic about our videos, and that's like where the box slam, cut, and pour came from, because I was like, cooking videos always have like something like this. I was like, we need to have something like this. It gets
knife.
people's attention. So I mean, yeah, it's really, yeah, it was really about finding that. I feel like that's the main thing with people is having some type of like blueprint for what you're doing and keeping to it so people recognize it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like your brand, isn't it? Like I could watch one of your videos
and know it was.
Yeah, and it's not on your channel. I mean, your voice is so iconic as well now. But I would absolutely pull out that video and be like, yeah, that's it. That's a Brick Chef video. Yeah.
Thank you. I really
like for me, I get bored of my content first. So like I can't stick to anything for more than like 2 weeks. And then I'm like, no, I'm bored of this. And people are like, no, we want like the custom minifigures again. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. Those were great. I loved that series.
So, and it's a big part of my success and a big part of my growth. Like I'm on like 90,000 now, and realistically, if I'd stuck with them, I'd be well over 100,000. But I just thought, is that who I want to be? No.
And I feel it's always like it really depends, because I feel like, I don't know. I'd like to dog myself a lot because I don't put my videos, I feel like, do very much right on my format, and then obviously whatever Lego set I'm reviewing. With you though, Liam, I feel like you're very personality driven. So like people will watch whatever it is that you're trying to do for you and the personality that you, I feel like, have established. So I feel like you have that kind of advantage for sure.
I know what you're saying, and I certainly appreciate it. I do know what you mean. And that's something that was always important to me, that it's kind of like I'm me and I'm talking about Lego and this and that sort of thing. So yeah, I and that's important for me to have that. And I feel like I get more of that across on Instagram, where I can use stories and Q&A, and we can have a bit more kind of a candid talk. I'm always wary of doing that on TikTok, because you're just like, is this going to absolutely flop? But yeah, it is nice to kind of bring out me, and it is nice when people do engage with when you are just being you.
Absolutely.
You found a lot of success with that, for sure. You've inspired me a lot. You know, you're like my go-to Instagram guru, because listen, you figured out how to grow.
Well, yeah, I mean, Instagram it's a funny one, Instagram. I mean, I've shrunk a little bit. So I hit 25K in the summer. So it was when I was out in Vegas, I hit 25K. But to be honest, I kind of lost my mojo just generally since then, like new job and all that. And it flattened me a little bit. And what doesn't happen on TikTok is you don't decline. Nobody seems to unfollow you on TikTok, not in the masses, whereas Instagram, people unfollow you. And I can't decide whether it's people are like, oh, why did I follow this guy? I don't like him. Or they just kind of go in and be like, oh, who's this guy I followed? Like, I don't know. So you don't really get that insight. But yeah, I've kind of dripped down, and since the summer I've lost like 1,000 followers. But I'm nowhere near as active on there as I was. And I'd like to be, and that was kind of part of me kind of bringing the Opieverse to an end, because of how much, I mean, you guys know now how much energy like these things take, and I was on my own, and all of that. But yeah, I just thought, to make that sustainable, to make OpieWan sustainable, I need to kind of pick out the bits that I want to do and the bits that I can do, and really just focus in on those and trim the fat, essentially.
Great.
Yeah, that's what it's really about. And I think you've kind of covered our next question was kind of what kind of content you focus on, but you really kind of covered that. So how do you go about making a video? So once you come up with the idea, I mean, even how you come up with ideas, and then once you have the idea, how you go about executing it and making it work in a way that you like.
So it depends on the video, because I don't have that style. I do like, I really love your kind of your review videos, and I love the style of it. I've done a couple of videos kind of a similar, where it's just like that linear format, and it's interesting, because I would say they're less about me, more about the set. and they have, I would say they're more consistent in views and likes than kind of my regular content. Sometimes I suppose kind of in the golden age of Lego TikTok, if we call it that, there were so many trends around, and it was easy to just kind of like jump on a trend and be like, oh, let's do it. And you know, things outside of Lego, and you think, oh, I can be the one that brings that in. But it feels like that side of TikTok is really moving away now. I don't really see the trend side of it anymore, and trending sounds. So I think that's why I've struggled a bit, because I wouldn't say it's like cheap content, but it's kind of offered to you on a plate, and it's still up to you to be creative with it and how you present it. But there's kind of less of that around. But then there's other things as well. You know, I always I like kind of contradicting people, but like in a debatable way, not like in a being argumentative, just like, oh, well, you said this, but actually I think this, and I like that side of it. But I don't know, I just feel like the energy out there is a bit low at the minute, and not in a negative way. I just think everybody's just a little bit burnt out, and there's kind of little to feed off a little bit. And I've kind of recognized that in myself, and just think, look, take it easy. You know, Matt, you and I have talked about this. It's just the day that you realize that you don't have to put a video out every day, or you can wait a week, or you can wait a month. That day is such a day. And I suppose my only concern is, do you get to a point where you just walk away and you think, I'll do a video in a couple of weeks, and you never do. But yeah, I take inspiration from like all sorts of places, just kind of whatever videos I see on, because my FYP is not Lego related at all, or Star Wars. Like I barely see anybody I follow in that on the FYP. So sometimes I like favorite a video and be like, oh, I can either take inspiration from that, I can use that sound, or you know, something will pop up. It's one of those things though, that take the new sets, for example. I don't like talking about like new sets, because whenever new sets come out, Lego Talk is just flooded with them. It's like the advent calendars essentially, and it's just, I don't want to add to that noise. And I'm sure, a bit like what you said there are people out there who are like, oh, well, I wouldn't mind actually getting your take on it, but I'm bored of that content before I even get to make the video. So that's why I'm struggling a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think TikTok is in a weird kind of turning point. I mean, for me personally, I'm at a point where I'm just about ready to move and make my main platform be Instagram, as I just find it a much better platform. It supports its creators much more. I just feel like it's managed much better.
Does that not here? We don't get, because you guys get paid reels, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
we don't get
not
that.
all of us.
Yeah, and it's still it's still exclusive, but I do just find in general that the Instagram algorithm is just better. I mean, like you said, on Instagram, you really don't need to upload daily. I mean, Instagram, I mean,
whenever you want.
If your content's good enough, you can do daily, but I mean, it's more just like, do it as you please, kind of every couple days. I mean, as long as your content is good, it feels like it performs on Instagram. And I was talking to Matt about this earlier. TikTok is literally made to not show your followers your videos. There's a following page and there's the For You page. And the TikTok wants you. I mean, half the time you open the app, you're already on the For You page, not the following. But then it still wants you to swipe over onto your For You page. And in my ideal world, there wouldn't be a following page. You get rid of that. And TikTok naturally put in who you follow into your For You page. That way you're getting a mix of stuff that you haven't seen and that the algorithm thinks you're like, but you're also still seeing the stuff that you asked to see originally when you decided to follow the creator. I mean, because TikTok's great for going viral, like that's its whole gimmick. But once you've gotten your audience and have a community, it's like, screw you. We're not going to show your followers your videos.
Literally.
Even like, and Instagram, it does. I mean, your followers see your posts on Instagram. When you follow somebody, you can expect to start seeing their stuff in your feed. So,
and I think as well, like TikTok, and I don't know how much we get this in our own head, but I do think there's something to it. like TikTok, there is a finite window to post, and it's never truly clear when that is. Whereas Instagram Reels, like I could wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go and get a drink of water, just go, I'm hitting the button. And then I could wake up in the morning and it'll have like 1,000 views. All right, okay. Then get on with my day, check it at the end of the day, and it's got another 1,000. But then I'll check it in a day and it's got another 2 or 3. And it seems a lot more of a slower, consistent burn.
Yeah, no, so I'll say personally, just recently I posted my Eiffel Tower review on TikTok and Instagram at the same time. On TikTok, and with big sets like that, I expect a good and nice outcome. I mean, I put effort in and I spend a lot of money on a big set like that. Within 24 hours, the video on TikTok had hit 1 million. And then it didn't hit 1 million on Instagram until like a whole 24 hours later. And now it has surpassed the amount of views that it had on TikTok on Instagram.
TikTok, you sort of hit a plateau with your videos at a certain point, and that's within the first day of posting. I hardly ever see TikTok videos accrue more views like later after that initial time of posting.
Oh, see, I have a video now that's from September that just keeps doing this, and I'm like, I don't care about that video anymore. Please stop sharing,
pushing it.
Share these. It's a weird one.
It's so hard.
But yeah, it's kind of on my content, just to kind of round that bit off. But I thinking about like where I go next. So I really enjoy, obviously, being in the UK. We have the ability to do this, where you guys, it would cost you a fortune and probably never be attainable. But we have like 19 Lego stores in the UK. We've got the Lego passports, and I'm trying to get around as many of them I can. I really enjoy making the vlogs and just showing off at all the different Lego stores and getting those stamps, because people always ask, oh, like, what's that? So I like that side of it. I would then also like to do, and I did toy with doing this at Comic-Con that we went to a couple of months ago, but didn't really get round to it. But I would like to do a bit more like interviewing style with people, like, and take January 1st, for example, that will be the Lego store queues will be rammed. People will be there. Even if I'm not buying, like, just go to the queue with a phone or a camera and a microphone and be like, and just ask questions, but like, what's your favorite Lego theme? What's your favorite, like, what is the best Lego theme? And just kind of capture people's answers in a short form. So I think there's like different ways to play around with it, and it would seem to do well at the minute, but yeah, just kind of being a bit more bodacious with it all, really.
Yeah,
but I'll probably get bored of that after 2 weeks and then be like, right, what's next?
We have a good audience question. Do you make, from Brick Pursuit, do you make different content between the two platforms, or is it the same on both?
I make the same. So I would, but not everything, not 100% of my TikToks make it to Reels. I've made some content like kind of offline. So my Lego passport vlogs, for example, I'll create them on my camera app, on my camera roll, use CapCut, stitch it all together, and then post on both. But then I will, obviously, because Instagram has the ability to post a picture, we forget about that sometimes. But sometimes a picture is better than 1,000 words. So I'll post a nice picture sometimes. And then there's some TikToks that what I don't think Instagram Reels really likes is the conversational stuff, or like where you're just talking to a camera and you're giving your thoughts and opinions on stuff. That stuff doesn't kind of really seem to work. So there is, if we have like a Venn diagram, there is an overlap, but there is probably as much outside of that overlap as there is inside of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great insight.
Stories are great on Instagram, though. Like,
that's where you do your talking and get your thoughts out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
And there is definitely a correlation with, if you're active on stories, especially if you've got like a poll or like a sliding bar, if people are interacting with your stories, it pushes your stories more to your viewers. And the more people engage with that, it starts pushing Reels again as well. So like I wake up in the morning at the minute, I haven't really posted a reel for a couple of weeks. So when I've been waking up in the morning, my like count will be something like 20, 30 likes overnight. But then I did a bit of activity earlier this week, basically with all the new sets coming out, and be like, what's our thoughts on this? And obviously they get a lot of engagement in stories. Woke up the next day and straight away that like 100 like maximum had come up, and when you go in you can see there's been a lot more than 100 likes, some followers, some comments and stuff on old content. So yeah, there's definitely it's a different strategy.
Absolutely.
So all right, do you have, this is really the spicy question. Actually, I think I'm skipping one, but we'll have to come back because I've started to feed into this. Do you have any controversial Lego or Star Wars questions or Star Wars opinions?
Controversial Star Wars opinions or Lego opinions?
Either or.
So Lego, I would say no. I don't really think there are any controversial Lego opinions. Like, I just think like it's so much of a spectrum, Lego, that you're always going to get different opinions. I think probably my controversial opinion is people who think their opinion is right. Basically, I won't say the word, but like,
right.
Yeah, but I think that's true of anything. I think people sometimes like Lego, particularly A-Falls, like they think that they're like, take that Speed Champion set for earlier. They're like, oh, that's rubbish. Like, why? But it's not for you. It's a $30, £25 set. You know, it's these sets are for, they're not for, not every set is made for an A-Fall to kind of go on a shelf. Some Legos for playing. So apparently I did have an opinion. Apparently I did have an opinion on that one. Star Wars probably got loads. But again, I'm quite chill about them. I suppose, I don't know if it's controversial, but I do think Andor is the best, and certainly will be when it's done, the best Star Wars TV show. And I don't know where it ranks, and I'll rank it when it's done, when all 5 series are done, in the kind of all-time project list. But I think it's going to be top 3 for me.
I mean, I don't think that's controversial at all. I think that's just correct. But
I think my thoughts on Andor are probably more controversial. I'm really glad you brought it up because I've been really, really interested to discuss Andor with you.
I'll bring it up then. What do you want to talk about?
I just see that everybody is really like losing their minds over this show, and I think it is good. Listen, I've really enjoyed certain moments of it. I just think it's such a departure from a lot of what we've been used to with Star Wars that it's just taking time to sink in. I think that there are long stretches of Andor that are just very boring and just maybe not very boring. That might be a little bit harsh, but when I look back, there are certain like standout moments. Like there's episode 6, there's episode 10, and there's episode 12. And these are just like so phenomenal, like moments for Star Wars that it's just so much of it is like, okay, I really had to be sitting and paying attention way more than I would for other Star Wars content.
So I agree with everything you said, and that's why I love it. I think if you took the Star Wars badge off it, put it on Netflix, it'd be one of those things people would be saying, have you watched Andor? You've got to watch Andor. It's the hot new show. I think personally, I want to get as far away from the Skywalker saga as possible. And I like that, although this is attached to the Skywalker saga, it's not. And there were people, like, there was a slight rumor after Kenobi that Anakin, Hayden was going to show up as Vader. I was like, please don't do that. And that's one thing I love. There are no cameos for the sake of cameos. I love that we're getting the ISB. Basically, the way I feel about it is it's given like you and I's perspective. If we lived in the Star Wars universe, no kind of Force nonsense, no lightsabers and all that, because essentially Darth Vader was one guy in a whole galaxy. Like, what are the chances you'd bump into that guy? And
he was a legend. Like, some people really didn't even believe he existed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, so to see all of that, like, you know, you just, that was just a kind of a very thin narrative within that kind of universe. Whereas what we're seeing is actually what people lived and experienced. Now, there is a bit of a narrative with kind of probably what the world is experiencing right now. That is just kind of a coincidence, I think. Obviously, this has been, it's just good or bad timing, depending on which way you feel on it. But I feel like it just offers a bit more empathy towards kind of what's going on there. But yeah, I really like it. And I do think, as I say, if this wasn't a Star Wars series, this would absolutely be the sort of thing I watched. But again, a bit like the Lego stuff, we're getting so much Star Wars content now, a bit like the Marvel stuff. Not everything is going to be for everyone. And I think because we've grown up with so little content, they've had to kind of make everything for everyone, which has probably made things a little bit more kind of diluted. Whereas now they can go hard in on, like, we want to make this sort of content for this kind of audience.
So I'll say, because I think that I think a lot of people would agree with you, Matt, too. And it's definitely very different for Star Wars. And I think the sort of thing with these Disney Plus shows thus far is that with Marvel and Star Wars, what you're used to with Marvel is a movie, and the pacing of a movie is obviously going to be much different than the pacing of a TV show. Same with Star Wars. All we've ever received from Star Wars is movies and then a children's television show, which again, and is as adult that the Clone Wars can get, it's still at its core a children's television show, which will not have the same pacing as a normal drama show. And then you have Andor, which is like clearly the first time that they're like Mandalorian, I think is very good, but they're still trying to capture that movie-esque pacing. Whereas Andor is the first time Andor to me feels like a drama TV show. It doesn't feel like a Star Wars show. It reminds me of something akin to like The Wire or Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, something like that, where it takes its time with what it's trying to do. It's a very, using the word human with Star Wars feels funny, but it's a very human story. They're telling very base level stories about these characters that don't have some big implication on like the grand of everything, but it's like this civilian like window into how Star Wars is, and it lends itself to a drama show much more than something like The Mandalorian, where it's like lots of big things happening constantly. So like the prison arc is amazing. I think all 3 of those episodes are just, it's some of the best TV period that I've seen in a long time.
Now, if I can amend what I said to sort of like pin it down to, I guess, what my main gripe with Andor is that I get it. This is a very serious time in the story, but it's largely humorless. And I think that's the piece that is I'm finding it harder to watch than, The Mandalorian is more of like is still a TV show. We have, like you said, a lot of this like action, but there's funny, there's comedy, there's moments of humor. And I think Andor is it's a lot of just like, it's very down. There's not a lot of comic relief.
It is the dark time.
Yeah, and I feel like that's very much what they want. Because I mean, you have to deal with the whole time the I forget the specific type of irony that it's called, some literature, but you have to deal with the fact that Cassian doesn't know, but we all know he'll be dead in like literally irony. just a couple years. Right. And also too, the fact that he doesn't have any idea he was building what's going to kill him. And literally, like,
he had no idea.
So it's like that's like something that's looming over the show the whole time. Obviously, like this is a show centered around a dead character, like somebody that is going to die. And I don't think they're trying to. I mean, even obviously Rogue One has its humor in it, but even that one's has a sad ending. All the characters that you get to love throughout that movie, they're all dead at the end. None of them make it out.
And I'm very excited to see when K2SO comes into the fold, because he's a very funny character. He's sarcastic in a lot of ways, but I'm very much looking forward to him maybe at least providing a little bit of like levity in this whole thing.
And I do think that the second season will probably be darker, so his humor is going to be necessary, because as we get closer to Cassian's death, I feel like it's going to be harder to keep things cheery and have a good tone. So yeah, I mean K2SO, I know the creator has come out and said that that's like their first responsibility with the second season is they have to establish K2SO.
Mhm.
And I think that's the important thing overall. It's like everybody is going to have a slightly nuanced opinion on this, to the point where it creates a spectrum of opinions. But we're a season in, and so you mentioned Breaking Bad. I gave up on Breaking Bad after the first season. But don't worry, I'm going to go back and watch it. So the problem was, I tried to watch it when it had finished, but it was at the peak of its hype, and I don't like hype, because then it's just like, oh, like this isn't, like it's just not matching up to. And everybody says you've just kind of got to get through the first series, and then it really gets good. So I feel like I'm at a point now where it's like, right, okay, now is the time to go back to it. My wife has seen it before we got together, and she was like, yeah, like I'll rewatch that. So I'm kind of there with it now. But yeah, I think when it's all said and done, that's really the time to judge it. And then you compare it. You know, this and The Mandalorian are very different things. And you even compare it like the Kenobi series. You touched on it there. Like, we know what the inevitability is of Andor, but we kind of know what the inevitability was of Kenobi and Vader. And although there were some brilliant moments in it, that show, like, I didn't have a lot of expectation for it, because I actually didn't really want that show, because I was just like, the story, what is there to see? Like, there was no sense of like peril there, because we know where you both end up. But yeah, although that is true of Andor, the world that they brought in around them, like the prison scenes and everything, like, it was so much more. Yes, it all revolves around Andor, but there are a lot of faces there that we just don't know. So yeah, I love Andor.
Yeah, that spawned a whole discussion within itself.
We really could. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I mean, I really could just like dive into all of that, you know, for even a whole episode.
Yes.
Very quickly, did you guys see the Bad Batch 2 trailer yet? Because that was released.
I have not watched it yet.
I know it's out.
Yeah,
but I'm very excited because I loved that. I really liked that show.
I kick myself because I'm super big into Star Wars, like you, Liam, and I'm very much like, I have to know like all the lore aspects. I have to like know what's happening and what happens next. But man, for the life of me, I cannot keep up with the anime. Like, I know what, like, I haven't watched all of the Bad Batch season 1. I know what happens in it, and I know what all the plot points. But for the life of me, I can never keep up with the animated shows when they come out week by week. I always just like get behind. I don't know what it is about.
I think I think they're tough to watch week on week. I think the animated stuff should just be a season drop, or even like 3 or 4 episodes at a time.
Yeah.
Just because not every episode, like if you did that with Andor, imagine binge watching the whole series of Andor. You'd be exhausted. Go to cancel. Yeah, you'd need to like go for a walk with no, like, for a long time. Whereas,
and maybe that's why I don't like Andor all that much. I binged it. I didn't watch it week to week.
Yeah, you really have to watch it and like let each episode sit with you and like and really just like absorb what happened each episode. And
I'm looking back, and each story arc is just a big blur. Like, you know, it's all one.
Yeah. So I would probably see 2 episodes max a day, and then go from there. But yeah, I think with the animated stuff, there are a lot of episodes, and this is true probably across all of the animated series. There are some episodes where you're just like, yeah, I don't really know what the value of that was, and maybe it'll pay off later. But for that reason, I do think they could do more like batch uploads, and I think that would actually lend to its credit. Now, obviously, we're going off a 2 or 3 minute trailer, but it does look like there's more intent in the series. It looks like it's got a bit more direction, probably a bit more of what we expected from the first series. And there is a nice little moment where it looks like Crosshair is talking to Cody. I think it's Cody.
Cody, I'm pretty sure, is like confirmed for this season.
Yeah. Which will be cool if it's
to see Cody come back. I wonder how horrible Cody is, because I always.
Well, So there, obviously this is not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but there's just a moment where he's talking to Crosshair, and he basically mentions that a lot of the clones are starting to question like their strength and loyalty to the Empire. Like, are we doing the right thing? And Crosshair's response is, so they're traitors then. And like, it's like, oh, okay, so we might get that kind of turn up here off of Cody. We'll see.
Interesting.
Very interesting. I have to go watch that trailer after this.
So I think we'll bring it back to Lego. I think we have probably 3 good more questions until we get to our speed round. So bringing it kind of back into the Lego realm of things. As a Lego collector, what is your holy grail Lego set? And the one that you most wished you had in your collection?
UCS Slave 1, hands down, no question about it. Don't get it out, Marcus.
I'm looking at it.
That's fine. Leave it where it is. Yeah, it's one of those as well that it doesn't seem to go up in value that much, and maybe it does, like, but very gradually. So every time you see it, it still feels attainable. But for that reason, I haven't pulled the trigger on it because I always just think there'll always be another one. But I feel like that those opportunities are running out, and it is one of those few sets that I would love to have sealed in box, just because that for a UCS set, you want to build it. You want to be the first person to build it. You want to peel off those stickers.
That one was a set that I wasn't quite fully back into Lego yet. It was like I had just bought my yellow submarine at a Lego convention that my mom dragged me to, that I like initially didn't even want to go to because it was for my little brother. And then it was like I think it was my 18th birthday. I just went to the Lego store. I think for the first time I just decided to go to my local Lego store, and I bought the UCS Slave 1 and was very satisfied with it. I had no idea, like, because at the time I was so new back into Lego that I really didn't like understand how much of a sought after item it was for people and how awesome it was until like a couple years later when it retired. And then I was like, oh, this is glad I bought this one when I was there.
Yeah, I never had that moment, but I've certainly had the opportunity several times over the last 2 years to get one, and I've just passed every one, and I don't know why.
I think when I went, I was the option. I knew I wanted one of those big Star Wars sets. I knew that's what I wanted, and I think at the time on the shelves there was the Snowspeeder, the TIE Fighter, and then the Slave 1. And I sat there for a really long time, and I definitely made the best choice out of those 3.
I would agree, but that's a good lineup as well.
So good. It's a golden age in a way.
Yep. Back when the boxes were just like the UCS boxes were just like really nice, like background photo, and then I loved it's like what the Sandcrawler did, the Slave 1, the TIE Fighter, the Snowspeeder. They looked great. Kind of the Y-Wing, but the Y-Wing was like, that was their first step towards the black box.
Yeah, it was more like set in space, wasn't it? But that was essentially just blackness.
Yeah. I think it was oddly enough like in the trench. They had the Y-Wing like in the Death Star trench.
Okay.
Partly. It was like half Death Star, half space, and then you had like the black border on the top and the bottom.
All good sets.
Yeah. Really. So, what is a theme that you would like to see Lego make that they don't currently make?
So I wouldn't necessarily call this a theme because I don't think there's probably enough to do it. Maybe there is, but maybe like a franchise that would slot into like ideas. But for me, I absolutely love the Stargate franchise, which I think is very Legoable. Like you've got like the pyramids with like basically the pyramid shaped spaceships, like the alien ships, and then like you've got the Stargate themselves, and there is a really cool mock of a Stargate where they've used like the blue translucent pieces to make their like event horizon. So yeah, they had like the film with Kurt Russell and all that in the 90s. Then they did the series. They've had like 3 different series, so there's plenty of stuff there. But for me, that would be cool.
I've never seen Stargate. Is that something I should watch?
It depends. So I love ancient Egypt, and essentially what it is like if the ancient Egyptians were essentially, and the pyramids were built by aliens, and then back then there was, and the humans were the slaves, and we built, and then they built that. Then there was a revolt. They kind of, and there's like a Stargate that acts as a portal between worlds. So everywhere there is a Stargate, you can connect them and travel between worlds. Ours was buried within one of the pyramids. It's discovered, and then like I think it's the American Air Force kind of tested, and Kurt Russell goes through, and then they kind of meet Ra, who was an Egyptian god, and then but he's an alien. It's like a parasite in a human's body sort of thing. So they live for like thousands of years, but then they build on it, because then they then do all of the Egyptian gods. Then they go into like some other mythologies. Like there's a Thor in there.
I was looking it up, and one of the posters I saw was Stargate Atlantis.
Yeah, so Atlantis is like set in a different. It's set in like a different galaxy, so they go like into the Pegasus galaxy, and then there's people called like the Wraith there, and the Wraith are essentially. Basically, what it does is it turns like mythology into science fiction. So the Wraith are essentially vampires like who feed off people, but it's kind of like, if these things all have to come from somewhere, like Atlantis, there must be, although we will never know what that truth was. It stemmed from something, and that's what they do. They play off on all these little bits of mythology and build this kind of science fantasy world around it. It's really cool.
That is so cool. I love when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's really neat. Yeah. All right.
But from a Lego perspective,
that would be very
That sounds very Legoval.
And then our final question before we get to our speed round is going to be, if you could have any minifigure that doesn't already exist made, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know this one.
I almost want you to give us a Star Wars answer, like you were such a Star Wars fan, and then something else.
Yeah. I'm trying to think from like Star Wars who doesn't exist as a minifigure, because that's the one thing, especially as an original trilogy fan, like we are quite blessed.
It's a hard one,
especially on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've like answered this one before as well. Like everybody always asks like theme or what's your Holy Grail set.
Yeah.
I don't know about like minifigure. Maybe someone like Madame Garza, because from Book of Boba Fett. So like the Space MILF.
Oh yes, yeah. Listen, any more Twi'lek figures that we can get?
Yeah, 100%.
Give me a Dark Talon, like, and I'm sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, you could go. What's his name? So Harrison Dula's dad. I always forget his name from
Cham Syndulla. Cham
Syndulla.
Cham Syndulla.
Yeah, like people like that.
He'd be cool.
Yeah, a lot of people till recently would have said Phase 2 Commander Cody.
Yep. Again.
But yeah.
Yep. Excellent. How about like something not related to Star Wars at all? Any minifigure.
Could be a person, just a celebrity.
Could be OpieWan.
Yeah.
OpieWan minifigure.
No, I'm going to say this one because I don't think he's in it, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. So the Lego Office set, I think David Brent should have been in there, which is Ricky Gervais's character from the British Office.
Oh,
considering
that's a good one.
He like wrote it.
That would have been a fun little nod.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because I've never seen the American Office all the way through either. But there is, I don't know if it's from The Office or if it's from like a comedy skit that they did. But there is there is a scene where David Brent meets Michael. What's Michael's
No,
surname
yeah,
again?
that's official. They did like there's like a funny episode where they just like meet all their counterparts from the UK version, and it's the Office like to do the American Office would do stuff like that pretty often.
Yeah.
So yeah, David
That
Brent.
would have been great. That would have been great.
Yeah, that would be great.
Excellent.
All right, that's going to bring us
yeah.
into our speed round. So these are going to be this or that questions. It'll be super easy. We'll fly through it. And me and Matt are just going to switch off. I'll go ahead and get us started with our first one. Boba Fett or Jango Fett?
Boba Fett.
Hamburger or pizza?
Hamburger.
Mega Constructs or Playmobil?
Playmobil.
Not confident about that. Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Following the instructions or Mox?
Following the instructions.
The Mandalorian or Andor?
Andor.
The Clone Wars or the Bad Batch?
The Clone Wars.
Ewan McGregor or Alec Guinness?
Alec Guinness.
Really?
Yeah.
Brick separator or teeth and fingernails?
Oh, brick separator.
MCU or DCEU?
MCU.
Xbox or PlayStation?
Oh, so this is controversial because for the last 9 years, I've had an Xbox One, like Day One edition, printed on the pad and everything. But I'm getting a PS5 for Christmas.
Oh,
jealous.
Only because of the exclusive titles, i.e. Spider-Man.
Yeah, God of War.
I want to play Horizon Forbidden West, but I don't want to play the PlayStation 4 version.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Ewoks or Minions?
Oh. Are we saying what we prefer or what we don't prefer?
Yeah, take it any way you want. This question is designed for you.
Oh, I'm going to have to say Ewoks because I'm like, they're synonymous with me now. They're a part of me now.
I guess they are. You're right. Yeah.
And finally, watching Building a Podcast live on YouTube or catch it later on Apple or Spotify?
Watching live all the time.
All
right. Awesome. Amazing.
Well, look, that about wraps up what we have planned for you. Thank you so much for joining us, OpieWan.
Yeah, I mean, real fast before we end, if there are any, we'll just go shout some people out in the chat. We have Zissou. He tunes in almost every episode. He's talking. He knows about Stargate, so shout out. Darth Walker, I think, is calling you his father, Liam.
So there's a story there because we went to Comic-Con together. Like there was a bunch of us. And then we went for drinks after. And Harvey, so Darth Walker Harvey, does a fantastic Anakin cosplay. And he was putting the moves on some girls in the bar. And he was telling them that I was his father. And I don't know where it started from, but yeah, it come from that. So obviously me being the ultimate wingman, I was like, yeah, it's my son. Are you going to get with my son and all that? And don't know why. So yeah, we just
did it work?
I don't think so.
Oh.
We just have Girl Bricks a lot. It says Ewoks as well.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah. Just remind me every day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like the things.
Right there. That reminder to take a look at.
Yeah. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Once you let something like that out, you're not getting away without people bugging you about it.
No.
Nope.
It's fine.
Well, I think that is about it for today's episode. We're going ahead and wrap it up. Remember, guys, if you can never catch us live, you can always catch us after the fact on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. It's always a great place. And don't forget to like our stream, follow us, and then, of course, Liam, why don't you go ahead and tell us where people can find you?
So, OpieWan on TikTok, Instagram. Instead of the I in Opie, it's a one because somebody has that name, and it's a private account. it's a private account and they don't use it.
Everybody go spam that person. So
you can't even report them for something.
So yeah, you can. TikTok's the best place as always, and then link trees in there, or you can go to Instagram and likewise through that. OpieWan.
Awesome. Well, that is going to wrap it up. We will see you guys next week for another really awesome show. I hope everybody had a great time. We will see you.